We have a number of Tesla updates to share with you today. First, Tesla's program manager for the Cybertruck has confirmed that the Cybertruck will be released in Canada, likely next month, October. This follows news yesterday that sales of Cybertruck will start in Mexico. Global expansion has begun, and this is all with the foundation $100,000 price series. Second, Tesla's Dan Priestley announced this morning several big updates on Tesla Semi. It too is expanding globally and will enter Europe once it scales in North America, likely in 2026. Third, Uber has announced a partnership with Waymo that they're expanding to Austin and Atlanta. We'll listen to a video of Uber CEO explaining how this partnership will work. Fourth, for the first time ever in any country, there are now more electric cars than internal combustion cars on the roads in Norway. Finally, Tesla is beautifying its factories. They're installing a Cyber Bear sculpture outside of Palo Alto and added 3 flags outside Giga Texas. So appreciate very much that we have Hans Nelson joining us. Check out his YouTube channel. Check out his X account, Hans C. Nelson. Thank you, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
We have a number of videos to share. Lots of progress across the board here. Cybertruck, Semi, and you've got these other stories we're going to talk about. So let's go to the first one, which is Cybertruck. So this guy, Dare We Can, said, all this Cybertruck talk makes my anticipation for my delivery even higher. Do you have any new information on when the Cybertruck will go to Canada and when it's going to ship? Given our October-November timeframe, will any delivery start around October 1st? Well, he got a reply directly from the program manager for Cybertruck, Siddhant Avasti, who said late October likely. And so this is potentially Cybertruck being launched in Canada, but we also had news just yesterday that the Cybertruck deliveries will start in Mexico now. And so I like what Bradford Ferguson said. If you're high in a list to get a Cybertruck and thought Tesla might be lowering the price soon, there's a new wrinkle to consider. What happens if Tesla just offers a Cybertruck at a higher price globally to keep it at the foundation level, but just sell it for more places than the US before lowering the price in the US? Might be a long wait. What's your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think that anyone who's expecting those lower price vehicles anytime soon, based on the amount of sell-through that we have right now, is probably in for a surprise. And one of the things that I would actually love to see Tesla continue to do, even after they begin selling the cheaper price Cybertrucks here in the United States, is to leave the Foundation series as an option and allow anyone who wants to jump the line to do so if they're willing to pay those Foundation series prices. I think that would be to Tesla's benefit. It would be frustrating, I think, for longtime reservation holders, but if they can continue to sell, even if it's just a few thousand Cybertrucks per month at the Foundation series, that really is quite a tailwind to margins, and it will help the production ramp really reach break even much sooner. And as an investor, I that's what I would prefer to see. And if they were to do that, that would also push out the wait times for anyone who's on the wait list significantly further. And, is that likely to happen? I don't know, maybe 50-50. But it is something to consider if you are on the fence about whether or not you should pony up and go ahead and get one as soon as possible.
And then we also reported yesterday that it's now outsold. It's now at the par as all trucks, all electric vehicle trucks, all the makers, Rivian and Ford. You combine them all together, they're already outselling them on a monthly basis. So
yeah, and I mean, there is definitely pent-up demand here in the United States for the Cybertruck. So I think that is something that helps it to sell at these prices well, but I don't expect demand to be super high for these $100,000 trucks indefinitely. Right. I think that will come down over time. That said, I still think there's a lot of demand left potentially to pick up here as well.
I love your idea, though, to sell both at the same time. We'll see what they do, but they don't need to rush because everybody's buying that more expensive level, and they're expanding this. Same thing is going to happen with the Semi. So Dan Priestley was this morning out in a conference, and he was presenting IAA Transportation. Dan Priestley is the executive in charge of Semi, and he gave quite a number of updates about the Tesla Semi. It looks like that Florian Menderup, who's in Europe, he explained that, look at it, 1,700 kilometers in 24 hours is possible. That's 1,000 miles. So that a Semi can drive 1,000 miles in 24 hours. 7.5 million driven miles already, 400,000 kilometers with one truck within 1.5 years. So it's going to be a quick ROI. They replace diesel vehicles one for one. Heavy lifting up series grades are possible. This is him on a presentation, heavy lifting up series grades. They were explaining this. By the way, the other thing that I heard somebody explain is that with the electric vehicle trucks, you can have them drive right inside the factory. They can be inside the factory. They can pick up things inside the factory, because a diesel, you can't have that with the enclosed spaces. I thought that was quite interesting. So here's him.
To be a compelling product across multiple markets, including Europe. Now, the truck that you see at the booth today is just one variant. We adopted our pilot production North American truck for the European market roads.
So did you hear that? We're going to have multiple variants, and it's going to be just it's going to be sent globally. So what's your thoughts? Yeah,
I love that we're really getting very close to actual volume scale production of the Semi. This is a product that I've been excited about for quite a while, because the amount of emissions that are created by diesel trucks are very large. Even though they're only a few percent of the overall fleet of vehicles here in the United States, they account for many times the percentage of emissions that they are represented by the number of them in the fleet overall. So I think it's like, 2% of vehicles, but it's 15 or something percent of total emissions. And I'm sure I've got those numbers wrong, but that's kind of the general shape of the representation there. And so if we can continue to get these trucks out on the road, then that will have a very large impact on the overall climate or carbon emissions that we're looking at from diesel trucks. But they're also just better products in a number of use cases and instances. And whether it's acceleration, whether it's their ability to be used, like you said, driven around inside of a factory, that's an interesting use case. The seating position of the driver, I think that it is going to be a safer and also much more enjoyable vehicle to drive for commercial drivers. Then you layer on top of that the ability to potentially do autonomy. And that's a whole nother level of, game-changing capability. So just on a whole number of fronts, it's an exciting product. And now that we have the 4680 ramping, we saw here just this last week that we went from 50 gigawatt hours produced at Giga Texas to 100 gigawatt hours produced in total. Or no, I think it was 50. Was it 50 million cells and then 100 million cells?
Yeah, 100 million. Yep.
Yeah, and then the 100 million was across all factories. So we don't know if there have been 50 million cells produced in the last 100 days, or if it's a little bit less than that. But even if it's only 40 million cells produced in the last 100 days, that is a very, very steep acceleration in the ramp of the 4680. And if you layer that in on top of the fact that we have some of our first both anode and cathode 4680s produced with the dry electrode process, then that gets to be really exciting. And so if we've got 4680s that are able to stay ahead of the Cybertruck ramp, and now to potentially supply a significant number of semis rolling off the line here in the near future, that's an incredibly good piece of news, and good projections for the future. I can't wait to see lots and lots more Tesla semis on the road.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. So we're now finally, after waiting, Cybertruck was delayed, 4680 is delayed, Semi was delayed. Well, now they're all three in, ready to go scale. Cybertruck is scaling, as we saw, 4680 is scaling, and then Semi soon. And here, let's take a look more closely at the Semi, because a lot of people were taking videos and sharing more information. This is a guy named George. He was there. Semi will come to Europe after scaling. The North America production is done in 2026. This is Dan Priestley in his talk. Jan of the EV Universe, he was there. He shared a lot of videos. He thinks he might have become one of the first ever regular people to ride along in driving the Semi. He was actually in there. He learned a lot of things. Number one, Tesla is already fully ready for European roads as it is now. Yes, the cab fits with new regulation. So when they created this, as you saw, Dan Priestley say, they created several variants already, like, minor changes, but it's pretty well already ready to go. The semis only had to make a bunch of minor changes, like the wheel covers, etc. This does not mean semi will enter European markets right now. It's focusing on North America and wrapping up first. But if Tesla wanted to, semi could drive in Europe right now as is. I think this is one example. The Tesla semi driver, US team, by the way, said that they have developed an independent front suspension and showed me the regen was strong enough to not need brakes through our short ride. That is killer. Can you imagine a semi that doesn't need as much brakes? He called this version of semi European development platform, and he confirmed that the semi driver also confirmed that they have the space saved with the metal frame behind the cab for the sleeper version. And let me show you some videos that he shared. So that is pretty cool. See, like I was saying, it's driving inside the factory and you don't have any concerns.
Yep. No diesel fumes floating around that, people have to worry about inhaling. Or, the same would also be true if it was a gasoline engine. And then this is the area where the sleeper cab could be, that they have basically claimed the space using this metal frame.
Yeah.
And so this all does speak to the multiple versions that Dan Priestley was mentioning, that you could have a short range version and a long range version, but then even on your long range version, you can have one with or without a sleeper cab. Then obviously you can have the ones that are compatible with European roads already. I'm not sure if you could do a sleeper cab with a European truck. My guess is there might be some limitations on, maybe you have to do a smaller sleeper cab if there is one that's possible. But they've already thought about all of these potential different variations. They've already made accommodations for those. And so once they start the production ramp, they're out of Giga Nevada, then we can anticipate just seeing smooth, like, first they'll fulfill demand here in the United States, just like we're seeing with Cybertruck. Then they'll move to some international markets, probably not Europe at first. But then over time, they will move to Europe, and they basically have the design completed, and the production systems that are going to be in place to handle all those different variants are, the design of all those production systems is also in place. And it's just going to be a matter of moving through that production ramp, steadily over time in order to fulfill all those variants and get them shipped around the world.
I think it's one of the benefits that few people are talking about, that Tesla is a global company. They have experience manufacturing and delivering vehicles globally. Like the Chinese don't have that experience quite yet. And so when they don't just do design for manufacturing, they design for distribution, for scaling globally. So here you got the Cybertruck that's already going to go global. You got the semi that's about to go global. Like when they designed it, even before they even start building it at scale, they're already talking about delivering it in Europe. So love it. It's looking like that's looking good. So let's talk robotaxi. Coming up on October 10th, Uber CEO announced that they're going to partner with Waymo. Have you noticed that Uber has been like almost every other week, announcement, partnership. Either they're getting very, very scared, or they're preparing themselves so that they have some positioning, or they're maybe on offensive. So you've got this news here that Uber CEO has partnered with Waymo. They'd already made that announcement before, but now they're expanding into Austin, Atlanta, and we're going to watch his video. And the question is, what exactly is Uber's role? Because Waymo already has presence in multiple cities. They have wait lists already. Why do they need Uber, and what they're doing? Uber chose Atlanta and Austin for Waymo integration based on market factors, not Tesla's presence in Austin. Let's watch his video, and then we'll get you to tell us more about it.
Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi is with us now, exclusively, I might add. And Dara, I think that this may be what we've all been waiting for, which is a notice which just says, look, it's not just California, it's not just a town in Arizona, it's big places that will be getting Ubers, and almost I maybe expect that it's driverless.
Well, I think that we're incredibly excited that this great technology is now is expanding, and we're incredibly excited to be expanding with Waymo, who we think is the leader in terms of driverless technology. And Jim, this is really cool tech. If you've ever taken a ride in a Waymo, it is an absolutely delightful experience, and we're very much looking forward to introducing it to the folks in Atlanta, Austin as well.
Now, yes, I've been in Waymo. I actually said, look, let's go to the best pizza place. It took me right there. It was really kind of has a brain. But I wanted to know about what you're doing in terms of municipalities. Sometimes, like we have in Phoenix, I couldn't go to the Super Bowl a couple years ago because what would happen is once you went out of Phoenix, you weren't allowed to be driverless. How are the municipalities handling what you want to do?
Well, anytime we expand in any city, we want to be in very close contact with the municipalities to make sure that we're expanding in a safe way, in a way that makes sense in terms of traffic flows, what their goals are. That said, our intention is to bring Waymo and Uber together in markets in Atlanta and Austin in a fairly broad way. It'll take time for us to grow, but the intention is for you to be able to get, Waymo through Uber wherever you live in those cities.
Dara, you mentioned the municipalities, but it's notable, of course, that Austin is the home to a very large company called Tesla, which has its own ambitions. Did that have anything to do with the rollout there, or is it specific to the efforts they've been making there as well to accommodate these types of vehicles?
Oh, Austin is a big, fast-growing market. Texas is a terrific state and obviously a big market for us. So that was really the consideration. We were trying to find a couple of other markets to partner with Waymo in, and Atlanta and Austin turned out to be great targets for us.
To the extent you've seen some behavior of your consumer base already, what is the willingness of people to order a autonomous Uber?
Well, people are very open to it, and we're seeing actually the percentage of accept rates when offered an autonomous vehicle going up generally. There are some people who aren't ready for it. But I think the more you see these cars in the street, the more you see how safe they are, how cool they are, the acceptance rates are going to go higher and higher. And we make sure with our technology to dispatch the car to you when there's a pickup zone or drop-off zone that's convenient. So we want to make sure that the experience is a top experience as well. And we think with that kind of experience, more and more people will want to experience autonomous.
Dara, I'm guessing at this point, for those who, as you say, might be a little reticent, you probably have some kind of 30-second pitch on what they can expect or how they should feel about it if they're taking a ride for the first time.
Yeah, we tell them a little bit about the car itself, what the experience is like, what the pickup and the drop-off is like, and people are very open to it. And again, I think if you take a ride, and we're very much looking forward to the folks in Austin, Atlanta taking a ride, they will want to take another and another.
All right, they didn't really say a lot there, but if you take a look at right here, so rides will only be available via Uber app, and Uber provides fleet management services like car cleaning and repair. What do you think about this relationship, partnership?
Yeah, I think this is very interesting because, on the one hand, Waymo doesn't really have enough cars to need to have extra demand. I think they can, through their own app, manage their service in San Francisco, for example, for the most part, and have all of the customers that they need. So then the question is, okay, if they continue to scale up that fleet, will that continue to be true, or will they actually need someone else to be funneling riders into their system? And I think that's why initially you start to look at a partnership between them and somebody like Uber. But when you think about the companies, from a high level view, Waymo is really a vehicle, they're a software company. They are kind of figuring out how to scale up production. And so I think they want to be the providers of vehicles, and they want to be the providers of software. Fleet management at scale is really a whole different challenge. And I think Uber is much more well positioned to take a challenge like that on, even though they are also primarily, a software company, but they are a little bit deeper in the weeds on some of this stuff than Waymo is when it comes to operating at scale. And they're also, I think, a great partner for Waymo in terms of dealing with all these regulatory agencies, because that is a challenge that Uber has already had to go through, is developing relationships with all of these different municipalities, all of these different cities, all of these different states as they have rolled out their service. And so I think that's another advantage. But definitely, I think it makes a lot of sense, if I'm Waymo, to want someone else to help me scale the fleet, scale the cleaning, scale the service of all these vehicles, as assuming that you can produce a number of vehicles that really makes an impact and growing, to a national scale. The other thing, there was a number of interesting points that he made in in his talk there on their decision to pursue the Austin market specifically. I did notice that, Austin and Atlanta are both the capital cities of Georgia and Texas, respectively. And so I didn't know if maybe the decision to go to Austin was about that, potentially, that, that it's going to be a service that's operating at the same place that most of the state regulators are. But Dallas and Houston are much larger markets for autonomous ride hailing than Austin is. And so, at least within Texas, I felt like Austin is somewhat of an interesting move. And you do have to wonder if it is to be in Tesla's face just a little bit. But that said, man, it could have unintended consequences. We'll just put it that way. That if you set up in Austin and you do the legwork for Tesla of opening up all of the regulations that are necessary, blazing the trail for, what does the relationship with the state regulators look like? How do we do the rollout and all of those things in Austin first? Then Tesla can come right behind you. And I think that, in the past, it would have made sense for Tesla to launch their first ride-hailing platform in a place like San Francisco, or potentially going head-to-head with Waymo in a place like Chandler, Arizona. Now, if Austin is one that's on the table, is already having Waymo available, if I'm Tesla, Austin's my first market, and I'm going to pursue that one hard. And I think that, that will kick off a very interesting set of competitions, because Uber does have deep pockets. So, if Tesla's going against Uber plus Waymo in Austin, then that's a different set of competitive dynamics than Tesla just going up against Waymo or just going up against Uber. I think that Tesla's positioned well to be able to handle that competition, but it does make the fight a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, very cool. Uber said they're going to use their own app, but then they're also going to do the fleet management, right? The repairs and the cleaning. So Tesla may end up partnering with them because they are looking for fleet management software partners. And so that was the thing that a lot of people told me beforehand. There's no way that Uber is set up to do cleaning of the cars. They're just a software company, but actually this is their way to test this.
Yeah, if they do move heavily into this with this partnership with Waymo as kind of the test bed for that, then I think that is an area of business that could be a lifesaver for Uber over time. If they can get good at that piece, then that is a way that they could survive this transition much better than if they are just competing head to head with Teslas and not able to meet the unit economics and just the overall price points that Tesla's going to be able to hit.
Yeah. And then here's all the partners. So Tesla or Uber is doing everything again. Partner with anything that moves, anything that autonomously moves. They'll partner with that company. We'll see what happens with them. All right. Meanwhile, Tesla's full self-driving 12.5.2.1 is now being released. So this is the long-awaited kind of version of 12.5. It's now being released. We've detected this being released to Hardware 3 vehicles also. Limited to particular groups, and then now it's started to go small wave, relatively small wave, but it's moving out faster and faster. What do you know about 12.5.2.1?
So I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard some people say that it operates just as well as hardware for vehicles. Then I've seen other people like Scott Walter saying that they felt like 12.5.2 was a regression on hard, and he has a hardware 3 vehicle. But yeah, that it was a regression from performance compared to 12.3.6, specifically around how it handled following distances. But that said, we have also seen in the past some of these early releases of these pieces of software struggling in some of those areas, and then within the first few weeks, that performance just actually being able to catch up and progress. So it's a little bit early to tell. I'm excited to see them rolling out software to hardware 3 vehicles. It is based on these larger neural nets at a wider scale. Hopefully this goes to the entire fleet relatively soon. One of the things that I've noticed is that we were pretty excited at the beginning of the summer about how quickly we thought that we might be able to roll out software updates to the whole fleet based on some of the initial, data points that we had. And then it seems like while they do continue to develop new versions of the software, almost none of those versions end up going wide release to the whole fleet. 12.3.6 is really one of the only versions that went fully wide. And so, that still remains to be seen. Although being this close to 10.10, it could be that they're really just trying to refine more of the features, and that then we'll get like a massive rollout update right around 10.10 that has a lot of the stuff that they're just kind of doing development on right now. So, I don't know what significance to place on the slowness of the wide release updates, but we have a potential to see some wide releases between now and 10.10. And if we do, that will be encouraging.
Okay, big milestone achieved. Norway. There's now more electric cars than petrol vehicles on Norway's roads. It's just happening here in September. Finally, we're here. The Norwegian Public Roads Administration is basically saying it expects EVs to overtake petrol cars this month, running at more than 90% of new car sales. So at this point, they've almost replaced everything. Revealed that at the end of August, there was 751,000 electrified cars in service on Norway's roads and 755,000 petrol-only cars, each accounting for around 26% of the total number of cars on the roads. I think that's gas only. Does not include diesel. That's why I think that's the case. And then, any thoughts on the Norway milestone?
Yeah, well, they did say electrified, so I think that includes their hybrids. That said, it's still great to see this milestone because we are talking about like the total fleet in Norway. We're not just talking about new car sales, which, like we mentioned, have reached really high levels. 90+% of new cars sold in Norway are these electrified vehicles. And I think from the research that I've done, I think that includes like just pure BEVs is above 90% now. Norway has put a lot of carrots and a lot of sticks in place to achieve these outcomes, but it is a national priority for them. They are a huge oil exporter, and so they're able to use some of the profits from their oil export business in order to drive change domestically. But it is something also that Norwegian residents can enjoy a lot cleaner air in the larger cities because they don't have nearly as many polluting vehicles. And I think that's a huge thing as far as the overall impacts of ICE vehicles versus EVs. Air quality in your major cities is the most tangible issue that people face. And, I think that is something that if you were to walk around in any of the major Norwegian cities, you might be able to tell a difference now versus, several years ago when it was predominantly ICE vehicles.
It's awesome, isn't it? All right. So we got this beautiful photo of this Cyber Bear. It's gorgeous, by the way. And Tesla is going to put this in front of their Palo Alto facility. So Tesla filed this, proposing installing a new sculpture at 3000 Hanover, was developed in-house and a product of multidisciplinary collaboration. Concept is a stylized low poly California grizzly bear meant to combine Tesla's design language with California's grizzly bear, common message of strength and unyielding resistance. It's going to install this outside of the Palo Alto facility. It looks gorgeous. And look at that. I love the Cybertruck inspired kind of where it's sitting. Gorgeous. Look at that front view, Cyber Bear. And then the other thing that Elon announced or showed, that they erected these big giant flag poles. You can see 3 flags: the Tesla flag, the American flag, and the Texas flag in front of Giga Texas. Teslarati, I thought this was a good point that they made. It's quite fitting for a facility that produces the #1 most American-made car and the #1 most American-made pickup truck. There you go.
Yeah, great to see. Love the pride and the accomplishments. And like you said on the the sculpture of the Cyber Bear, that's a very, very cool looking sculpture. We've seen the Cyber Owl, but to see like a physical Cyber Bear, I think that's an awesome addition to the art as well. And that'll make for a lot of great photos as well in front of the Palo Alto headquarters.
Well, you and I need to go there. Thank you so much, Hans. Follow him on X and on YouTube at Hans C. Nelson. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.